World's 12 most haunted places. Number 12. The Screaming Tunnel in Niagara Falls, Ontario is sort of the rite of passage for youngsters out to prove themselves. As Canadian folklore states, when you light a match in a tunnel underneath the railroad tracks, you'll hear a haunting and agonizing scream of a young girl and the flame will be expelled by a gust of wind. The beginning to this disturbing account is a story of a family that lived in a large farmhouse that was located in a now empty field. The man of the house killed his wife in a rage one night. It's speculated that she was trying to leave him and take her daughter, and he went after their younger daughter to finish the job. He chased her all the way to the tunnel and lit her on fire. This gruesome tale is not for the faint of heart. If you dare to visit and light a match, you yourself could experience something sinister. Number 11. Many grisly happenings in the Eastern State Penitentiary took place, including disease, murder, torture, and suicide. This Pennsylvanian prison had a 142-year run of terror on the 85,000 inmates, so it's only natural that people view it with expectation for paranormal activity, and so one of the most haunted places in America. Punishments like the iron gag, where an inmate's hands were bound behind his back and tethered to an iron collar in the mouth, making it so that any movement tore up the mouth and tongue. These were dealt regularly. A little more than 50 inmates killed themselves and around 20 inmates were murdered by other inmates. It has a gruesome past, but many of the people who look after the grounds now view it as a place of rich history and where there were many other good people whose stories deserve to be told. Number 10. Flying several heads bleeding for help and bloodstained beach. How does that sound for a serene vacation location? Maybe not your cup of tea unless you are looking for a bit of terror along the same sand in your bikini bottoms. During World War II, the Suk massacre took place, where Chinese who were considered anti-Japanese were murdered here on Changi Beach. Many soldiers were tied up and taken to Changi Beach to be beheaded and tortured, so much so that people on the beach today still see apparitions of several heads floating around, open graves dug by no one, and headless bodies weeping by the shore. Number 9. Marble staircases, spooky halls, and eerie tapestries make up the inside of the Banff Springs Hotel in Alberta, Canada. Yet another creeptastic location still giving guests chills down their spines. This particular hotel holds many ghost stories behind its walls, even if hotel staff strongly rebuttal that statement. One of which, the most iconic of tales, is the tale of the Phantom Bride. During the early 1930s, she was wed and held the bridal suite at the Banff Springs Hotel, only to meet her demise much too soon. Her tale is that she ascended up a marble staircase to meet her husband, waiting at the top. Her dress was taken a hold by the flame of a candle, and in panic she tried to put out the fire. She tripped over her own wedding dress and fell down the stairs and breaking her neck, which caused her instant death. She can still be seen dancing in the ballroom or walking up the alleged marble staircase. Number 8. Built in Kentucky in 1910, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium was considered the most advanced tuberculosis facility in the country at the time. The death toll is estimated at 64,000, and a lot of that was because the antibiotics to fight tuberculosis wasn't invented yet. The doctors tried their best with treatments using natural remedies like fresh air and sunlight, along with pneumothorax, a medical procedure in which you collapse the lung to encourage healing. In the 1950s, when streptomycin had been introduced, there was no longer a need for Waverly Hills, since tuberculosis was basically eradicated, so it was closed in 1961. 1 year later, it was reopened as Woodhaven Grytaeus Sanatorium, where stories of patients' abuse and horrid experience ran rampant. Woodhaven was shut down after 20 years due to the abundance of mistreatment and torture claims. The walls hold many lost and pained souls. Number 7. Many horrors have been had in the Moundsville Penitentiary or West Virginian Penitentiary, which opened in the late 1800s. Moundsville was quite a malicious history involving the torture of prisoners and the tiny cells that they shoved several prisoners into at a time. Prison officials dealt out harsh punishments by the use of whips and torture devices. In 1886, Moundsville took over executions for the state, resulting in 85 men hung or electrocuted. Hundreds more met their violent deaths within the penitentiary, which leads to be the excess of paranormal activity still happening within the grounds today. They say the spirits here don't realize that they are dead and are doomed to play out the horrendous acts inflicted upon them over and over again. Number 6. Built between 1666 and 1679, the Castle of Good Hope is considered the oldest surviving colonial building in South Africa. Along with age, legend and mystery usually follows along. Many ghosts are seen throughout these grounds. Most notably is the Lady in Grey, a ghost who has been seen in long grey apparel, covering her face with her hands. The ill-tempered black dog who will rush at you only to vanish moments before impact. You might not see a ghost while touring through a castle yourself, but the grounds who have to look after it at night have experienced more than anyone. Screams, howls, footsteps, and an all-encompassing ice-cold fear. Number 5. Constructed between 1858 and 1881, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is the second largest hand-cut stone masonry building in the world. While this was only built to house 250 people, it reached a gross number of 2,400 patients and didn't have the resources to provide the abundance of therapeutic energy and space it was meant to have. Even though places like these were built to better the treatment of the insane, the era they lived in still didn't offer a good understanding of humane treatments for the patients. Creepily enough, the grounds were made up of 666 acres, already calling upon the supernaturals if I must say so myself. The worst patients were locked in cages like animals, and there was even acts of patients killing other patients. Nurses were murdered and raped on occasion, and with all the death soon follows ghostly disturbances. These miserable souls of mistreated patients, much too deranged to move on, wail and moan, and there are far too many sightings of apparitions appearing to claim a single bone-chilling story. Number 4. Monte Cristo, located in Uni, New South Wales, is undoubtedly the most haunted house in Australia and has been occupied by the Ryan family for the past 50 years. From the get-go, there were spooky happenings. Like, their first experience with the home was waking up to a full lit house, even though it had no connection to electricity yet. The Ryan family experienced a series of unusual and eerie events that solidified their feelings that this place held something within it. A pregnant maid was pushed out of a window. The caretaker murdered in the house, an infant was pushed out of the arms of a nanny and down the stairs, and a stable boy was set ablaze in his straw bed. Many of the photos taken within the house show spirits still lingering closely. This place is sure as creepy. Number 3. Dubbed one of the most haunted places in the country by Time magazine, it's the Cuban Club, built in 1917. There were 2 confirmed deaths here dating back to the 1920s, one of an actor committing suicide while on stage, and the other was a board member being shot to death by another board member after an argument. Other unconfirmed deaths were sure to happen at the Cuban Club and will be confirmed only by your eyes resting upon the apparitions wandering the building. For instance, a woman in a white dress and red heels is often seen walking along with a young boy playing with a ball. Number 2. The Sultan's Palace, also known as Gardit Le Pret Mansion, is a beautiful building with a horrid past. The story that makes this place so infamous is a bloody one. Owned by wealthy plantation owner Jean-Baptiste Le Pert, the building was rented out to a rich, young sultan from Turkey. Upon arrival, the Sultan had a large entourage and reeked of luxury. Mysterious parties were thrown and whispers were exchanged as to the happenings within. But only one dreadful night, when blood was escaping from underneath a door, did they find out. The entire party was murdered and the Sultan was thought to be missing, only to be found buried alive in the courtyard. The massacre was terrible, with all the guests dismembered and parts thrown away. According to the story, the young Turkish man wasn't a sultan, he was the brother of an actual sultan. He and everyone with him was assassinated by the men sent by his brother. There are 2 versions that go with this story, and that the reason for the massacre was because male members of the family were in competition, or that the brothers stole possessions and women from the sultan, leading to his elimination. Number 1. So terrifying that guests have been known to jump out of the windows in fright to get away from the hauntings in Britain's most haunted B&B. The Ancient Ram Inn is said to hold many ghosts and even a sexually benevolent demon. The building was built over an ancient pagan burial ground where devil worship was done and small bones were found, which suggests that many child sacrifices took place there. It's teeming with ghostly activity, so much so that people have been assaulted, objects will be thrown, and heard blood-curdling screams. It's a popular spot for paranormal investigators, horror writers, and thrill seekers to come and get the pants scared off them, which the Randy Demon would enjoy. Which among these haunted places was your favorite? What paranormal place do you think should have made this list? Comment your thoughts and remember to like and share if you enjoyed your time with us. Thank you for staying tuned and good luck out there.